Okay. Just centering ourselves, bringing ourselves to a place of balance. There's a lot of energy and nerves with us all when we do these things. So we're just going to come into it slowly. A bit of Palo Santo. We'd normally open doing we used to open doing our sound meditation straight into it. Because we had to, we wouldn't be able to talk or focus ourselves. But we're getting a bit better at that. So we thought we'd open it with talking. But we will then go into doing a bit of sound in before we start talking about what it is that we're doing. So we're in the intuitive flow at the moment. We just did it's a root chakra C on the singing bowl. Ground us. We're in greens and reds for the heart chakra and the root chakra to ground us, ground the energies. We were doing sound meditation before we started. We're all a bit rosy. We've been in the bath. And it's important that we wanted to do this, but we get very anxious doing there's just a lot of energy and nerves, and it takes a while before something becomes familiar. We know it's something that we need to do for us moving forwards for many reasons. But it's more important that we make sure we get practical stuff done around the house, and it's very windy here. So we've been supporting a wee fence and this archway that we've got up in the front, and making sure our electric blocks doesn't blow off, getting the lounge tidy, getting the kitchen tidy, editing some of our daily poet videos on our other channel, and then doing like our daily journals and things, having the bath. We thought we were going to start this yesterday, but there's still too much to do around the house yesterday, and we didn't want to feel rushed. It's 11:48 now, so it is still the 20th. This is some sage from our garden. But it is getting a bit late, but that seemed to be important to connect in with Grandma Moon, who rose about an hour ago. Rose. So yeah, if we're a bit rosy, we tend to do some hot cold therapy in the bath too, but not just on the skin. We do it with our eye fascia. So we do it like if you're swimming underwater with your eyes open. So we do eucalyptus for balance now. So we were doing some of that, but it makes us a bit rosy eyes and a bit squinty. Okay, so a bit messy. Thank you, our little birdies. We've got some moon water here, the last Aquarius new moon and the Leo full moon in red Kilnadra for red colour therapy. And then chamomile, calendula, rosemary, and some coriander, which are all from our garden last year. It's all about that constructive feedback loop of information in and out of the senses, out and in of the senses. Okay, so we've burnt the smellies, we've got the candle there. I'm going to blow the candle out actually. It's the 2006, so it's 10 today. So we're just going to give this a 1 with our other hand. doing the patterning on both hands is important, especially on the hand that's weaker. Changing the pattern in our body changes the pattern in the brain and helps us develop new patterns and new habits rather than continuing on with habitual ones that don't serve us. So just going to close my eyes and do a bit of buzzing, a little bit of subtle movement and shaking. Feel free to join in. Yeah. And then there might be a few ohms forwards and backwards. So just if your body's drawn, if you're drawn to sound and move and shake, this is how we connect into source energy and calm ourselves. And know that it comes from a place of a heart intention. We're a Reiki master, and we've been doing energy work for almost a decade with humanity's and Mother Gaia's highest good. And then within the last, not too long actually, couldn't tell you exactly how long, between 2 and 5 years, we realized that we weren't putting ourselves first, and we needed to put ourselves first and unconditionally love ourselves and be compassionate and gentle and patient and forgiving and grateful of ourselves, because only when we do that to our deepest core heart centered of our being can we truly radiate that outwards. Okay, so this is how we are. This is how we are functioning. We used to do a lot of planning and OTT, but with our Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and dissociative identity disorder and fibromyalgia and being autistic, and shit hit the fan a while ago, and almost 5.5 years ago, and our energy levels got completely depleted. We're not going to go into that too much, but we've been meditating, manifesting, whatever the words are, co-collaborating with source energy to create a way of being which involves maximum output, most ease. And if we have a day where we aren't low energy levels physically, mentally, or emotionally, and we can't do anything, then we can't do anything. But to still be able to prepare for them. So over these we've been teaching some of our alternate personalities are really young. So we've all been working, dancing together, the witnessing eyes, learning how to not judge and be compassionate so that different alters don't lock us out, and we can stay co-conscious to witness the patterns, and teaching ourselves all how to cook and notice the patterns that we will cook and make more. So then we freeze meals, because there'll be a period of time when we suddenly can't do anything, but at least then we've got some really healthy frozen meals in the freezer that we can just get out, and is really easy. And working out systems around the house to stay on top of keeping the kitchen as tidy as possible and keeping the lounge as tidy as possible when navigating through all of this. So self-care for us with our food, self-care with our hygiene, self-care with our immediate environment in the house, and also in the garden, learning to grow our own food as our medicine. And so learning to kind of keep on top of the garden and everything as well. We used to have a gardener, but we don't anymore. So it gets overwhelming, and it can be a lot to juggle, but we're succeeding. And so the next stage of our self-healing journey, because we do all this alternatively and naturally, is to start with because of the younger alters, we've been like playing house, playing cooking, the rest of it. And so now it's kind of like play work. But what we are doing primarily for ourselves, and inviting, because some of us alternate personalities will then watch this back. but we're also attempting to do it in a format where we invite others to jump on our energetic train, because there are deep frequencies and we're releasing a lot of trauma on many levels. And because we understand sound and sound resonance, when we embrace other people's healing journeys through trauma, it can have that maximum output, most ease. We've been doing yoga since we're 28, so what's that? 14 years, yoga yoga, and we've started lots of things, but we didn't find out about all our labels and disorders until only in the last 5 years. So it was great because it was a relief, because finally our whole life started making sense. But at the same time, we had some early childhood traumas of sexual abuse and all kinds of mum suicide and all kinds of things as well. But we'd never allowed ourselves to go through those emotions of being a victim. So we've been very self-reliant and very independent our whole life. We've been a humanitarian aid worker. We've self-converted our own van and lived in it. We've traveled the world on our own. So to suddenly go from being very self-sufficient and independent to consciously making the decision that we couldn't work anymore and we couldn't afford to pay for our therapies external of us with other people, and we couldn't keep up with our complementary therapies course, we didn't finish the sound healing teacher training. We didn't qualify in our Younger Yoga exam, although we believed we would have done, because we passed the personal practice when everyone thought we'd passed the teaching, ourselves included. We asked to do it over 2 days to the best of our ability, because we're also dyslexic and not great with words. So all of this is a learning curve, hence why we do our daily poetry as well. But they didn't allow us to do that. But we understand. But then a month later, we got diagnosed with EDS. So had we had that diagnosis a month earlier, they would have allowed us to do it over 2 days and we would have passed. But the whole point we're learning now is that we weren't meant to qualify in anything. We come from a very academic background, and from what we understand, we believe that we live in a society where academics and qualifications are hugely important. Whereas we personally believe that there's so many more intelligences than just academia, which in a way is just agitation of someone else's experience and theory. We're not dissing it, but we believe that life experience and experiencing trauma and navigating oneself through trauma and through those dark periods of life is a lot more beneficial than learning the theory and then passing it on to someone else, because you've got the first-hand experience. So we understand why we didn't qualify in the Younger Yoga teacher training, because it's very rigid and you can't do anything else with it. And had we qualified, we would have followed that path. Whereas we're not great at being seen and heard, which is why our alternate personalities started the YouTube channels in the psych ward 2 years ago, so that we could witness ourselves, because we have a deaf, blind, dumb internal processing model. And this was a way of us being able to see and notice what's going on with all of us, and see what words we're using, see who's feeling what, and then be our own teacher, therapist, mother, father, etc. And it's working really well. We still hit a lot of emotion, but we are sharing our live reality healing documentary, whatever, and we're inviting people to jump on our energetic train. We've got a whole pile of books here, which we'll go through in a minute. We've given a blurb about us. This is us, authentic, vulnerable, strong and courageous in our vulnerabilities, showing that this is imperfection, and all that we're doing at the moment, we'll edit these out as well because it gets a bit long and blurred and wobbly, but have information in it. It's a constant growing process. So that's kind of an introduction on us. Now we're going to do an introduction on what this is about. So we won't be able to remember our memories. We're autistic as well. So the beauty of the autism is, okay, so the beauty of the autism is it gives us the multidimensional understanding of layers upon layers, inside out, outside in, up, down, all around, etc. So if you've got those multidimensional spider webs, it also gives us a directness and honesty and a real understanding of patterns. Now, in the current day and age, you have like your Rain Man and your geniuses that are autistic. What are they? We forget the names and we won't be able to remember certain things. But it's more in the mind and the understanding of words. Whereas for us, we were a bookkeeper and did accountancy. But those alters networks in the brain and the body are just gone, and we don't have access to them. But we're developing more of the right hand side of the brain, and the right hand side of the brain is about patterns. It's not about the logic, past and the future. And because we're mostly navigating in these younger alternate personalities, we perceive through sensory systems of the body through the ages of the personalities when the trauma's happened. So we've done a lot of over the past 5 years, we've done a lot of mirror work, and we'll look in the mirror and be doing our breath work and our subtle shaking, and our head will be back on back to front, or we'll be missing limbs. And that's where it's almost like it's cowboy wiring in the body and the brain network. So certain sensory systems don't connect with other sensory systems because an alter will hold that network, another alter will have that network. Hence why we're doing our best to bring all the alternate personalities into consciousness so that all these networks can function together. And we're still developing our words to describe these experiences. And we notice that sometimes we can use words like we may say can't instead of can, or we can say things that completely flip the sentence around, so it means the opposite. So one of our main priorities is we are sharing our process and our ways of us being our own student and our own teacher, because the best teacher is the student. And the main thing that we program is through the unseen energetic fields, the electromagnetic fields. So if you think, so everything's atoms that are vibrating in the seen, tangible world. But in the unseen, untangible world, which exists, we have Wi-Fi, we have microwaves, we have radio waves. It's all there. We can't see it because it's not within the spectrum of our sight, or it's not within the spectrum of the human ability of sound. But it's still there. Now, we live in a world where science has gone from observing and attempting to understand. It's in the paradigm shift at the moment, but attempting to understand, which is we find ironic, and it doesn't fit with our autistic brain, because it's kind of like humans want to have the highest of the level or the biggest of this. So why did they decide to focus on the 0.01% of the atom, which is the seen part of the atom, rather than the 99.99% space? But it's because we live in a world where we like things to be tangible, that we can see and touch. But in the unseen world, the subatomic energies vibrate faster. And in the seen, tangible world, the atoms vibrate slower. So if you're in a race, the person that's running the race slowest comes last. So the physical body is last. It's what comes into the physical manifestation after these faster, higher vibrational energies and frequencies get really dense, get really compressed, and come down through the energetic centers of the human body. So because words and language and things can get misinterpreted, different people have different understandings of words, different people can have emotional attachments to words and get triggered. What we've learned through all of this process is that someone might say, oh, you only hear what you want to hear, when really people don't hear what they want to hear, people hear what they're able to hear. And if someone's experienced certain traumas, then, so let's put this into an understanding of musical notes. So if we have 2 octaves, C to C to C, let's say a healthy, someone that's been brought up in life healthy, no major traumas. I mean, just being born is a physical trauma, but no major other traumas, then they can still hear those 2 octaves of C to C. But someone else has gone through some traumas, they can hear, let's say, all of the octave apart from the note D in one of the octaves. So any word, any sound that then has that note D in, they won't be able to hear. There'll be like a blackout or a glitch in that network. So saying that someone only hears what they want to hear is not very compassionate, and a real misunderstanding of the impact of trauma on the body and the way these sensory system bodies function. So we don't want to get into too much because there's just so much that kind of comes through, but we send out through the waves information that's the most important information we're sending out is through the unseen energetic world, so that the viewer, the watcher, whether that's one of our alternate personalities or someone else, will absorb that information through their electromagnetic field. And we're always doing our heart work. We were doing the global coherence pulse last night and had some very deep shifting. It was healing from the inside out. I'm sure we've been on one before that, but it kept bringing us back to another one where I remember that we had the bath full of cold water for like a week. The inflammation and pain was insane. And I think that must have been around October, and we'd eaten a lot of cheese. But since then, we've been really impeccable with our diet. We've cut out dairy and cheese apart from goat's kefir, remain plant-based, but we don't even have corn. We don't have any nightshade family. We don't have, because that raises inflammation and raises pain, and we couldn't cope with the pain. And we don't have onion. We don't have onion or garlic because that stimulates the mind. And with all the alternate personalities, there's a hell of a lot of mind stuff going on sometimes, and it's hugely working. So we also know, due to people's ignorance and due to the current state, not ignorance in a bad way, just how it is, and due to the current thing of lots of healing, lots of teachers, guides, gurus, people coming out, that and we knew this first-hand experience that from our younger alternate personalities, that when one's in a vulnerable, desperate state, they will do what these people say because they're looking for any way out. So it can be worse and more detrimental. So with our teaching background, with our therapy background, and with our personal experience, we are slowly building ourselves up into creating Shintosai, the Shinto's yoga experience, and creating courses that not everyone will be receptive to it, but it's designed for like 99.99% of people. And if someone can't do it, then someone else can do it in the electromagnetic field around them, because we can't change anyone else, but we can change ourselves. And the deeper we are willing to go into our heart being and feel the feels, which is extremely hard when we have to navigate through our present moment actions being defined by our past because of PTSD. DID is complex PTSD. And then one gets stuck on this loop because how can one create their future from their present moment actions if their present moment actions are on this loop defined by the past actions? And so we've managed to juggle the present moment actions being past, but also doing ones for the future, and to get that spectrum into the present so the oscillation is as less as possible. So it's a real pure heart-based intention to get these frequencies of deep self-understanding and trauma releasing frequencies to create space and create room so that the new can come in through the electromagnetic fields, through the virtual web, through your electromagnetic field, so that then the experiences, whether it's internal experiences in your inner reality or external experiences, or through people or words or language or signs and synchronicities of the things you watch or listen to, whatever it is, your subconscious and your superconscious will know best to provide you the experiences and the words or numbers or art or whatever that will be in the frequencies that we're doing healing, and we're attempting to describe in a probably waffly way, but that's best for you so you don't get triggered. So that's, first of all, is the most important thing, and that's this energetic train that we talk about. So as we were saying, we realize that although we sound one voice, there's lots of alters functioning at once, and we may start something and then we'll go on to something else, and then maybe something else, and then we'll come back, because we've learned that we can't, because where awareness goes, attention goes, energy goes, and we can't function too much in one system or one alter, because an alternate personality is not just in the mind, it's a body network as well. Because too much energy will go there, and we then have to go on to another area, and then we'll come back. So basically, we have been taught through these experiences of having to just surrendering to whatever was needed, because we had to. Because the end destination would have been suicide. Ended up that our autonomic nervous system started giving up, but that's then when we regressed to 2 years old, and then ended up being put in the psych ward, and they made us take medications, and then we came round to 8 people restraining us, couldn't use our voice, couldn't use our body, locked inside again. Holy fuck, what's going on? How do we get out of this one? They're telling us to relax, and I can't talk, I can't communicate to them. And I'm just inside, the sarcastic ones inside going, hello, fight, flight, freeze, autonomic nervous system, can't relax. Can you just all stand back from me, and then I won't be absorbing your energy? Because we're super hypersensitive and we're an empath, so there's all this stuff going on. So we're basically being taught with our maths, with the autism and understanding the patterns, we've been taught the quantum biomechanics of the deepest patterns in the body. So someone that has been doing yoga for an awfully long time can start feeling their kidneys, they can start feeling their lungs, they can start feeling these deep inner realities parts of your body, because yoga will strengthen you from your limbs of action, so that because your peripheral nervous system is your limbs of actions, your sensory nervous system, and to strengthen them to handle the emotional core, the emotional house, your nervous system, so that then when the energy comes in deep, one can handle that intensity of energy, which a lot of people call the Kundalini rising when times happen. For us, it didn't work because of we didn't know about the DID, we were in denial about it, everything's happened for a reason, we understand, but yoga had to break us from our outside because of the cowboy patterning and the wiring, and because we were so good at mind over matter. But with our sensitivity, with our hypermobility, the EDS, it was breaking us, it was killing us. So it had to break us from the outside in. And then there's other stuff that happened. So we're just going to say the other ailments, because fibromyalgia basically gives us, fibromyalgia is amazing. So if you can think of the body as the Hindus call it nadis. So the prana, the energy, travels down your nadis. In China, it's called the qi, and that travels down your meridians. These are the channels that the energy flows down. So it's like your river banks and your river, and the water being the energy. It's called Ki, Reiki, universal energy in Japan. Thailand, it's called your Sen lines, SEN. I forget what they call the energy. And so depending what culture, what part of the earth, depends what they call this unseen greater force of energy. We've called it source energy. So it's the coiled up piece of energy in your sacrum. And so when that rises, it goes through your body, and it's what we interpret to understand what people call your light body. We see the light body as being the nervous system, and the more aware we get, the more we light up different areas of circuitry in our body. But with the ED, so the fibromyalgia, basically, fibromyalgia is like, can make new pathways, make new roads. So imagine you're on a highway, and the highway's got a whole pile of cars on it. It's all jammed up, traffic jam. It will kind of, so it's congested. It will build a new road so that you can take another road. But what happens then is the congested highway, the congested pathway causes pain, and then there's the pain of building the new one. And the new one isn't the optimum resonant pathway. But it's amazing that it can do that. So that's the fibromyalgia. The POTS, postural orthotic trachea syndrome, that gives us the understanding of the pressure in the body. So if you think of a hose and how you've got water on a hose and you can put your thumb on the end of the hose and it changes the pressure if you stand on the hose. So that does the pressure in the body. So if you think of a car and an engine, you've got pistons and pressure and fuel and water to cool it down. You've got all these different functions to make the mechanics of the car work. The body's the same, but it's a bioorganic quantum kind of mechanical body. We've not been hugely clear at this, but we don't speak to people, we don't see people, so it's, this is our first-hand experience to learn to communicate. So that's the fibromyalgia, to build the new pathways and the networks. We've done the POTS for the pressure in the body. So the Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, that's the connective tissue of the body, the fascia. Now, the past is data, it's information, it's memory, and all that data, information, and memory is stored in the body. So the body is our past, it's all our information and our memory in the connective tissue, and depending what frequencies those memories are and what emotions they're related to, depends what area of the body they get stored. And that could be harmonic memories, frequencies, or it could be dissonant memories, frequencies. Now, what this creates is the body acts like a tent at the end of the day. You've got different areas of the body that function together. You've got your activating muscle, you've got your stretching muscle, you've got the ligaments that hold the joints in place. So the ligaments holding the joints in place are kind of like the guide ropes on the tent. Now, if you've got one of those old-fashioned tents that's canvas and you have to have it taut in a certain way, I think the word's taut, that like tightness, to stop the rainwater going in and leaking, you've got to get all the guide ropes set up in the right way and the right tension. So the body is about having the right tension of stress and slack. So you can have too much slack in some areas and too much tension in some areas. Now, with autism, people with autism can be hypermobile and can also have a lot of rigidity and tension. And Ehlers-Danlos syndrome is a lot of hypermobility. It's a connective tissue disorder. It's a malfunction of the collagen protein. So therefore, this connective tissue, this fascia, it goes around everything. You can take everything away from the body, apart from your connective tissue, and you would still be left with this most amazing, beautiful, multi-dimensional spider web cling film network of every organ and ligament and vein and artery and bone and muscle in the body. You'd still be able to see it all. And this is what the electromagnetic energy travels down. And the electrochemical energy is what travels through the circulatory system. So your gut biome, your skin biome, your nose biome, and all the bacteria is really important. So what we've learned is that the alternate personalities is our body speaking to us. And we tend to think of the body as a cells and cellular community systems. And we don't know if this is right or wrong, but we don't agree with right or wrong. We don't believe in right and wrong. Not the majority of us. Some of us still do, because some of the alternate personalities are still in that kind of young state of stunted generational consciousness growth. But we do all our jeune kombucha. We've been finishing that off today, and our kefir and our fermented veg to get all this bacteria in the body functioning properly. And when we look at the scobies on the jeune kombucha, the top gets all rough. And when we were talking to our real food box delivery guy for Christmas, it all came out. And so you've got some of us listening to other ones of us talk when it comes up and think, oh my God, that sounds amazing. Yeah, that makes sense. But the SCOBY is like the skin. And so when we have a healthy, diverse, happy bacteria systems in our body, in this gut biome, skin biome, nose biome, etc., then we have healthy skin, and they're the ones that build up the cellular community. So what we eat, the chemical information that provides our moods, our emotions, our moods, a prolonged state goes into character, and in a really prolonged state into a personality. And if we've had trauma when we're young and one is super hypersensitive or whatever, then the self will fragment itself to cope, to separate. So that person will deal with that pain and trauma, that person will deal with that pain and trauma, and they have different parts of the body. So we've said all that, we've done most of it, we've done the autism. So that's the dissociative identity disorder. And then we've got a processing language disorder, and we've been learning words better through numbers. So when we were 7, we started taking maths homework home to soothe ourselves. So we did a live, I think it was last weekend actually, it was long, this isn't going to be that long. And the next morning we got up and straight away we started writing, it's in our little Shinto self-empowerment book, a course. The course we started writing in that one is series 1, but ironically, because we function in a very strange way, series 2 comes before series 1. So, and that focuses on not the intensity of the full moon and the new moon energies, but it focuses on the between energies, between the new and full moon, between the full moon and new moon. It actually focuses specifically between the full moon and the new moon when the energies are going down. Because what we've learned is a lot of people tend to think that the day starts when the sun rises. Spring starts when you start seeing the new growth again. It's when we start seeing things. But from what we've experienced, not just from in the body, but from self-converting our own van and doing solar panels and having batteries in the van and the leisure batteries, etc., is you can't start your new day, if we think of ourselves as a battery, unless we've put our battery on overnight to charge. You can't start a new season or half-year season, because if you think of the solar eclipse, the summer eclipse, the winter solstice and the summer solstice, then you've got the energy rising, the daylight hours getting longer, and the energy going down and the daylight hours getting shorter. Now, you can't, unless you've topped up your battery over winter, then spring and summer is going to be really challenging when the energy starts getting intense. And if you don't get a good night's sleep, then the next day is going to be really heavy and exhausting. So actually the day starts, the new cycle starts at sunset at winter, when we recharge our batteries. So that course is focused on the energies going from the full moon to the new moon. It's on the 4th quarter, and it starts after, I think it's like the day after the winter solstice or something. That's what we've got written down anyway. And I could tell you because it's in this book here. And that starts on June. Yeah, June the 22nd, hopefully it does. And that's called Shintosai YouTube Interactive Source Energy Series. And that's where we'll work the full moon and new moon energies, whatever the astro signs are, and the degree that the sun and moon are at a certain time when we do the workshop. So we're working with the number energy, because the language of the subconscious, the language of the superconscious, the language of the multiverse is number, color, patterns, or as Tesla says it. I mean, if you want to know the secret of the universe, think of the 3, the 6, the 9. The 3, the 6, the 9 is the Tesla code, the key to this unseen circular spiral system realm, the right brain hemisphere, whereas the left is the past and the present. The left brain is the past and the future, the masculine, the linear, the other numbers of 1 to 9, not including the 3, the 6, and 9. So he also says, if you want to understand the universe, think of it in atoms, vibration, and frequency. And that's what our snowflake calls number, colour, and patterns. So that's what that course will be about. And we're only doing it once a month because it's going to be intense. There's going to be like 6 units, and it's like integrating with source energy, harmonizing with source energy. And because we're doing so much of this for so long, and we understand that we are like a connector or a bridge between these unseen realms and these physical realms, because the programming of these most amazing quantum bioorganic computers of body that houses us gets programmed when we're a child. And because even though it's been super uncomfortable and super challenging for the belief systems of an adult mind, hence why we got out for so long and couldn't cope and dissociating. But we learned to surrender, we've learned to be compassionate, we've learned to be accepting. And what an honor, what a gift to be a grown adult, a grown woman, and be able to perceive and experience the world as a child again. We're not super comfortable with it, but we're getting there. It's more the not super comfortable with sharing it. We're super comfortable in our own space. We're just not experienced and familiar with sharing it and communicating it. So children and old people, the closer you are to being born and the closer you are to dying, the closer you are to the unseen energetic realm. You haven't been domesticated, doctrinated, conditioned by society and society's ways. And so that will be once a month. And then we start on February the 24th to do our own personal connection of source energy language, because we realize we've been learning the language of energy, which is very vast and very complex because everything is energy. And the whole thing's been intuitive. We've spent our lives being in control. We've spent our life mind over matter, mind over body. We've spent our lives attempting to be someone we're not because we didn't know any different. Whereas now, rather than being from this scientific mathematical perspective of the mind and the academics only, we're actually learning and understanding intuition and being intuitive and going with the flow in that moment from a heart-based center, because that's what's most impactful. That's what means something. One can play a piece of music, how academically from the mind, how it's written on sheet music perfectly. Or you can get someone that will play a piece of music from the heart. When you listen to these 2 different types of music, the one played from the heart that is improvised or it's got some mistakes in it or isn't perfect will hit your heart the deepest. And so this is what is the most powerful movement. So on this energetic train that we're inviting people to jump on, we have some vast visionary views of heaven on earth state of awareness consciousness, where there can be this symbiotic, harmonic relationship between all things, between every single bacteria and cell in the human body that makes up the collective consciousness of the one body, between all humans, between humans and Mother Gaia, just like there's that symbiotic relationship in nature. So how that would come to YouTube would be, one can be a YouTube consumer, one can be a YouTube creator. But from what we understand when we watch a lot of certain things to grow YouTube, we won't mention any names, YouTube creators are still creating for consumerism. And when we're creating for consumerism, there's no resourcefulness, there's no sustainability, there hasn't got that symbiotic relationship. So coming from this heart-centered place of being authentic and strong and courageous in the vulnerabilities and just showing us exactly who we are in that moment, unplanned, because we know that that's what's going to flow best at the end of the day. But yet it still feels really uncomfortable because it's not what we're familiar with, but that's why we need the experience to get familiar and comfortable, hence what this is. Plus we're providing something free for us and for others. We want to be a creator of our life narrative, self-life healing life narrative, to create other, to inspire other people to create, and to live from the heart with whatever it is you do. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter if you're a lawyer or a teacher or an artist or a writer or a builder. Whatever one does, they can do it from the heart. And when we do it from the heart and we bring the heart and joy and fun and all these different modalities into it, there's a whole different feeling to it. So this course particularly suddenly came out of us a couple of days ago. We're finding this so difficult. We've got red and green on to keep us heart-centered and to keep us grounded. Tito Tomomo, Papai. Let's not show them through the books yet. We'll show them through the books that we could potentially use in a minute. So we're in the sun season of Pisces. Pisces, well, it's the 12th house. It's the last house on the astrological chart. It's the subconscious, and closing off before going into new cycles. It's all kinds of things: water element, and a mutable sign. Now, for us, and it rules the feet. Now, the sun is the masculine, it's the external, and the moon is the feminine and the internal. So what came to us, because each astrological sign relates to a part of the body, and because we are still mostly in this right brain, unseen energetic realms and dimension, which is super challenging to live a life, and especially when one's a child in these child networks, to take on adult life responsibilities, etc. So we have been, since the psych ward, grounding these higher energies down and anchoring them down into Mother Earth and doing deep meditations. We get all our hair follicles or all our nerves really going right down into Mother Earth lava core, and loads of cooking, anything creative also is what grounds us and takes us out of our head, puts us into our body. And when we get into our body, and when we can actually embody any kind of new information or knowledge, embodying that new information and knowledge and experiencing it rather than just being theoretical, is what brings us wisdom. It's what facilitates us being able to get through the challenging time. It brings us faith. It brings us hope. For us, it brings us to the ability that we want to live, and that we have been navigating avenues and pathways that don't end in suicide when we've spent since 14 and we're 42. So that's like 28 years wanting to die because life's too much. And that's going away now. It's not completely gone because we're still on disability benefits and going through that process. Sometimes some other things can trigger it, hence why we want to get ourselves out of victim consciousness completely. And this is our grounding and our preparation for whatever it is in the future that we do to start earning a living and earning an income on our own and being self-sufficient again, but being able to put our needs first. Because if we have a day where we can't do anything, we have a day where we can't do anything, but yet we can still earn money somehow. Sorry about the shaking. We're attempting to find a comfortable position, and we're jarring the table. So yeah, this is all like play work. So today's a Libra moon. So we're going to go back to the Pisces. So the Pisces sun is the external body and the feet. So if we are having the feet and the external of the feet as the anchor point, then the moon, which is the internal, as it goes through each astrological sign, which happens every 2 to 3 days throughout the month, we can have the sun Pisces external feet anchor point as it goes through each internal part of the body, but we'll be accessing each internal part of the body through reflex points on the feet. And also to make it fun, I don't know if you've heard of palm reading, where one can read the palms of the hands. You can do feet reading. So we can pass little fun bits of information across on how to read feet and what your feet tell you about you, for instance. So hence there's going to be feet reading. So we've got read, learn, and self-heal body series. So it's self-healing. It's understanding. We're understanding the language of energy with the other course and with this one. But hopefully the information that we'll put across through this course and this series will be sharing us, sharing our ways, sharing our fun tools, sharing knowledge for all the different stuff we've done in our past, and bringing it out in snippets to share it with you. So you've got all the information going through the electromagnetic field that's going to give you whatever experience you need that's best suits you. But you've also got the information for your conscious mind to kind of keep it active and to keep it fun and to play. There might be little activities, and we've got an anatomy and physiology colouring workbook here. So there might be stuff like that. We've got subtle body, the subtle body, so the subtle energetic body. We've got one of those colouring books here as well. So we're thinking, because we come from a teaching background and we started doing teaching at university, specialising in maths, secondary teaching, we understand keeping people occupied, including ourselves. Our younger ones want to share how we started doing our sacred geometry meditation today as well, with the spirit science book. But with the spirit science, our manic, we thought we were going to start it on the 6th, but we didn't. We started it today because our conscious mind always gets the timelines a bit wrong. But we started this one. And to be fair, the other top 2 are really complicated, but that one's really simple. So we did that on a big piece of graph paper because the little ones have the big pads. And we actually drew it. And because we do our patterning and we change, because we find it easier to change from the body, we would draw it real well. The elders are left-handed anyway. We'd consciously, rather than doing backwards writing with the left hand automatically, right, with all the weird shit gone down, we've realised that all of that is teaching us to do different things in the body consciously ourselves. So we'd do it certain things with the left hand and we'd do certain things with the right hand. So yeah, they just wanted to share that because they were really chuffed about that. And I was really chuffed actually too. It made us feel, so we've had a really big day of practicality, balancing, integrating practicality and spirituality. Chop wood, carry water, as they say. So read, learn and self-heal body series. We are reading our feet. We're reading our body. Some of us altars in here, the memories that come up will be people from the past that we've barely known, but it'll be a memory of their sacrum or the shape of their collarbone or the shape of their stomach or the shape of their hips or their legs or their calves. So there's one in, and then you've got that, you can read people's micro expressions. So you can read people's eyes to see if they're lying, or they're not, if they say to see if they're lying, but what it means is if someone's lying, potentially they're being creative and imaginative with what they're talking about. So their eye direction will go in a certain place, apparently. So there's so much that goes on in the micro expressions of the face and everything that we can learn. So our body is constantly speaking to us. We've just got to attempt to learn the language of the body, just like you learn a different language, be it French, Spanish, Latin, Greek, Maori, Gaelic. Whether it's the language of science, and even in science, you've got the language of biology, you've got the language of chemistry, you've got the language of physics, or is it the language of law? So this, language is multi-tiered. There's so many different aspects of it, whereas we used to be really pedantic. So it's taken us a long time to gain this insight and this awareness. And with that being pedantic and taking things literally, how does the body speak to us? We don't know how the body speaks to us, but our body's been speaking to us. And a lot of it comes through the alternate personalities, the bacterial system speaking to us, the cellular community system speaking to us. And so when we can understand the unique language of our body and how it's speaking to us, we can really build and strengthen this beautiful bond of the unconditional loving self and being compassionate to self. And we just had We just had a big shift. That was in our right toes, and our right archway is incredibly tight. So the archway of the foot relates to the spine. Your toes relate to your nose, your ears, and your eyes. Okay, so that's better. I'm not sure. Let's see where the flow goes now. Hopefully it's still kind of there. So yeah, reading and learning from our body, specifically from our feet in this course. So it's Libra today, but we're doing the introduction today. We're not actually doing the units. But if we were doing Libra rules the buttocks, the lower back, and the kidneys. You can also link in food to this as well. So eating kidney beans look like your kidneys. So eating kidney beans are good for your kidneys. And there'll probably be little tips like this as well coming into it. Because we'll watch this back and we'll edit it so that it makes it more concise. And we'll also take notes, because in doing this intuitive flow, although we have an idea of what's going to be in it, we don't really, but doing this will give us more of an idea of what's going to be in it. Excuse us, there's that release. All those things are releases of energy and congestion, because toxins in the body get released depending which energetic center it's in. If it's in the physical body, toxins can get released through spots, through rashes. If it's the chemical body, it can get released through headaches or diarrhea or gas or wind. If it's in the mental body, it can get released as in suddenly getting overwhelmed with lots of negative thought patterns that one may feel like, oh, we've sorted that one out, and then suddenly they come back in. And we've noticed the patterns with us. It's like you think you've done it, oh, that layer comes back again, and it really gets you going down again. But then it's like, no, this is just detoxing again. Let's just ride this through, and eventually it will go. So there's many different layers of how the toxins in the body can get released. And when we're aware of that, it can make the journeying and the navigating through the memories, the thoughts, the traumas, the physical reactions in the body, etc., a lot easier to manage. A bit of knowledge, a bit of understanding can really minimize and take away fear. So yeah, we're using source energy because that's what we connect to. That's the main realm that we're in. And as we said before, physical comes last. So by understanding and thinking, just as you do computer programming for a computer, and you've got hardware and the software, the hardware of the body comes from the childhood. So if you've got all the computer programming a bit fucked up in your childhood, then that's going to really not give us a strong foundation for the body as it grows up. But we can change that. We can change the programming of our hardware. We can change the programming of our software. It's just knowing how. One of the ways of doing it is through the words we use. Pro-peace, anti-war. Both mean the same thing, but anti-war comes from negative connotation wording. And us being autistic and super hypersensitive, we've learned all this from experience. Our body will go into spasms, and we can tell you if the people coming towards us have their internal reality and their external reality aligned, because if it is, they're nice to be around and our body's calm. If it isn't, we'll turn into a bit of a spastic. Hence the importance of getting our body physically strong, flexible and balanced, because then we'll be able to have that alignment in ourselves of our internal and external reality that wasn't there before, but we'll have that there, and then we'll be able to start going out and integrating back into society again, because it's been almost, it's been over 5 years that we've been we go out occasionally and challenge ourselves, but it's just to the local shop, which isn't very far, and we've not been able to. We will go walk around the block and our legs will swell up. So anything that we do, we have to put our legs up first to reverse the flow of blood, and do it before and do it afterwards, so our legs don't swell up and so these other things don't happen. But it works. It's really working. We're doing so much better. Hence why we're here able to do this and having the confidence to share our vast amount of knowledge, but not just having the confidence, but actually having the ability to use our words and get it all out. So yeah, using the source energy, using sound. Sound for us comes before light. Light is quicker and faster and harder to grasp, whereas sound is slower. And we're talking sound, not beautiful singing. Sound, it can be instinctual, it can be primal, it can be a scream. It ever needs to come out in that moment. And that's when we do that sounding, that is just coming out. It's not us consciously making a sound, it's what needs to come out. And we've surrendered more and more to whatever this body and whatever rich altar needs to do, because at the end of the day, in doing that, we are minimizing physical pain that we're experiencing as we express, as we release through the body. Shaking is the oldest and newest form of medicine. But all these things we've had to tweak and adapt to us, because we couldn't even shake. So we've had to do subtle shaking. We've had to do just certain parts of shaking. And sounding as well. I mean, it went through a period where we couldn't even scream or get sound out. And then we went through a period where it was just lots of screaming. It's like, I think we should calm this down, guys. I think the neighbours might be getting a bit worried. So yeah, sound. The Pisces sun, like we said, and the moon, I don't know, this is just what we did in this thumbnail earlier, because we're just learning to do thumbnails, a bit more kind of, the young ones like it. You have much time doing it. Sometimes it's like, not be a perfectionist, it'll come. Plus, what these different modalities are doing is it's connecting the different sensory systems. So it's connecting the alternate personalities, or it's connecting the networks in the body. And when networks and sensory systems misfire or get cowboy wired, it's called synesthesia. So if you want to know more about that, David Eagleman and synesthesia, he's got loads of stuff like that. He's a really amazing 6-episode series of BBC brain documentaries, which explains literally how everything external is a projection of our internal reality, and that our internal reality is just like a black box. So the information, and we've had to learn this a lot, and we don't have it firsthand because of our deaf, blind and dumb internal processing model, but by witnessing a lot of other people and hearing them talk about the audio sounds and the visions, get distracted. And it might be internal visions through the mind's eye, but it could be external hallucinations and visions. We don't get any of that. We do get if you think of a pressure, if you get a balloon and pull it apart, it can make that squeaky sound. That's pressure coming out through a really narrow gap. So when people get what's happening is, if you think of a balloon inside of a balloon inside of a balloon, and you put some twists in those balloons, that's a really simplistic version, you've got the air going round each of those balloons with a twist. And sometimes, the balloons might get stuck together, or sometimes one bit might pop, so you'll get an extra bit of thingy. That's how the body works, but in a much more complex level. And this is the toroidal flow of energy. It's the torus, but you've got one torus around you if the body functions as one whole, the biggest one being the heart. But you've got the heart brain, the brain, and the gut brain. So therefore you've got 3 toroidal flows coming out. But then you've got even the heart muscles make that toroidal flow pattern. So yeah, you've got toruses within toruses, and it's the fractals within fractals. It's sacred geometry. It's the microcosm within us of the macrocosm, because there's that expansion, but you've got the contraction, but you can only expand so much and then it contracts inwards. And we're going to just come back. So all of this that we talk about isn't theory and isn't words. We've found the words to describe our experiences in the body, but we're going to leave it there because it will get a bit too vast. Yes, the moon astro body. So if you go through each moon sign. Libra is the buttocks, the kidneys, the lower back. Scorpio is your reproductive organs, your genitals, your groin, and your pelvis. And that's where we're going to be starting. Now, we had our stages on a Scorpio new moon the day after we shaved our head. Now, so we shaved our head on a dark moon. The reason we shaved our head was because we couldn't lift our arms up because of our Down syndrome, because everything got so weak, and we broke our collarbone before cycling John O'Groats to Land's End 2 months, and then cycled John O'Groats to Land's End. So we couldn't get our hands up. Our beautiful long curly hair was up in this bun knot, and it got all matted and it couldn't be brushed out. We didn't like short hair because of some attachment issues from when we were 14, and a boyfriend that said we looked ugly, or when is it, 15, I don't know, with our hair short. So we didn't want our hair short. And we then remembered a memory of old friend who had shaved her head. And we remember saying that we wouldn't have the courage to do that in this lifetime. So like, hey, let's gain some shave our head. So we head. It was on the dark moon, which is actually our lunar birthday, because we were born on a dark moon. And it was a Saturday. The next day on the Sunday, there's a lot more to it, but we had these seizures, these 2 4 to 5 hour seizures that left us regressed like a baby. We couldn't even walk at times. We couldn't use our body. Yeah, quite an experience. Seizures, but also everything's interconnected. So it also could be like Kundalini rising, the energy rising, but it couldn't rise in our body because we didn't have the boundaries. Our riverbanks were made of sandstone rather than solid rock, and so everything exploded. And then we've got head injury. So with the EDS and it being a malfunction of the collagen protein, there's actually healing. So you putting on PVA glue in a nice layer, letting it dry, and doing another one, it gets really dry. Blob on PVA glue. It doesn't dry properly. The centre's all gooey, so it always acts like a blood clot or tubing and compressors on the brain. So that was all part of it. So there's always this information that's kind of we understand now, we couldn't communicate at the time. Why do we talk about seizures? Why do we talk about Scorpio new moon? I haven't on Scorpio new moon, so we're starting this on a Scorpio. Now, because it rules pelvis and the groin and that area, your psoas muscle, your hip flexors, are the first muscle to wake up as a baby. It's the psoas major and the psoas minor, or the ilias psoas. One of them curves in the hip bone, and the other one goes to the top of the femur, top of the leg bone, through the pelvis, and the other one goes to the same place in the top of the femur, the top of the leg bone, goes up to your lower lumbar. So down your spine, you've got your 7 neck vertebra, your cervical. You've got your 12 thoracic vertebra. Oh, you don't know. We twisted in a funny way there. It's all going on the releases, isn't it? So then you've got your 5 lumbar, and then you've got your sacrum. Oh God, how many have you got in your sacrum? I think it's 5 again, and then 3 in your coccyx, the tail. Can't remember on that one at this moment, but it doesn't matter at the end of the day. But your iliac goes from the top of the femur up each of the. So your legs don't start at your legs. It doesn't start at your pelvis. Your legs on the nervous system, and it's your nervous system that tells your muscles in your legs what to do, actually starts at the top of your lumbar, which is your thoracic and lumbar joint, which is kind of like in your mid, like behind your bottom. So all fear, all trauma, all anxiety gets trapped in the psoas muscle, gets trapped in your pelvis. But we're not going to go into that one too much. But that's why Scorpio is super important. And your pelvis, not from an energetic center. An energetic center is your hara, kind of 2 fingers below your belly button. But your pelvis, what is it called? Not your central pedal force. It's your center of gravity. That's in the sacrum area. It's in your pelvis from the physical perspective, not the energetic perspective. So the main, so you can tell what came out a little while ago. So you can tell someone, so when you watch people and become a people watcher, some people will be walking and they'll be walking with their head forward. And if someone's walking with their upper body and their head forward, they're more in the head, more up here. It's like busy, 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 stress, stress, stress. But there's no such thing as boredom. Boredom only exists when someone's been functioning on the adrenaline a lot of their life and they've got to keep busy, busy. They don't know how to rest. And this is where your vagus nerve, the rest and digest, and the active fight, flight, freeze. One's the doing and one's the passive, and they need to be balanced out together, the masculine, the feminine. Hence the importance again of the vagus nerve, of the digestive system, because it's the left vagus nerve that functions the digestive system. So if you've got someone walking with head forward, they're more in their head. They're probably very good mind over matter, and they're probably disconnected from the body. But you can have someone that's disconnected from their body but connected to the heart, because there's the common phrase mind, body, soul. But for us, it's kind of like nature, heart, the mind. But it gets a bit more confusing for us because I think in conventional understanding in society, we've got the mind up here. I also think there's a lot of discussion and debate of what the mind is. But if you really look into some philosophical stuff, the multiverse is mental. The multiverse is thought, where when people say it all starts with the word, although that one confuses us, because when they say it all starts with the word, is that the word that's spoken, or is it the word that's written, or is it the word that's in the head? I suppose the word that's in the head is the thought. Yeah, but so I don't know where that went then. So yeah, someone that's leading with the head forward, very up here, or you can get someone that's leading with the pelvis forward. The men that walk back like this, they're probably, very physically grounded, very sexually orientated, and they're so if you've got a proper alignment of the body, the ears will be in line with the shoulders, which will be in line with the hips, which will be in line with the knees, which will be with the ankles. We've got a great theory. We're still working in practice to get into the body, but that's because our internal body was so misaligned. And our internal body's really getting aligned now, but it's still got a bit of a way to go. But we're learning that so the external reality, how we perceive the external world, we experience the world through our 5 physical senses: taste, sound, touch, smell, sight. How we experience our internal reality is from the internal senses, which is the 5 internal. You can have internal sound, auditory, internal sight, but this is what some might call the psychic senses, and there's 8 of them, like your clairvoyance, your clairaudience, your claircognizance, which is like knowing. So there's 2 realities going on here, and one of the aims of self-awareness, one of the aims of the I am, one of the aims of healing or bringing balance, a wholeness, or we can understand from this philosophy. We've got into that philosophy stuff. We've just been looking to be happy. We didn't realise that looking to be happy meant living a life without physical pain, and then it's led us to all spiritual philosophy and the rest of it. But we don't really we are maths and science at the end of the day. But we're also in nature. We've spent a lot of time in the woods and sleeping outside and a bit of bushcraft and in our van. So we're very connected to nature and Mother Gaia. But the journey has taken us, well, if you get stuck in these energetic rounds and you're locked inside and you can't use your body and you feel like you're taken over by another entity, but I knew better and I knew I hadn't been, you got to find out what's going on and take some of these journeys, which some people call rabbit holes. And it's a daunting journey, and it can be lots of different paths, and a lot of people maybe don't have the courage to go on it. And as I said, it's not something we've chosen, but we've ended up being taken very deep on it. And yeah, we navigate these different dimensions and these different realms, whatever you want to call them, altered state of consciousness really well, because, well, we've had to. It's what our life is, and we've just had to witness and observe and dance with the complicated dance moves. So, come on, we were going with that again. Can we bring it back, please? What were we talking about? A bit of moon water. philosophy, internal reality, external reality in the body. So you've got all this, like, being autistic. I don't know if all autistic people get this, but we used to be very pedantic and take things literal, like analogies, metaphors. They just didn't make sense. They're starting to make sense now, but they're not making sense. They're only making sense because we're understanding it through the body, and because we've had these experiences, and we again aren't good with emotions. So we've gone down below emotions. We've gone into the fractal geometry of the body. The first thing, the pictures on the thumbnail on this, before we even had the seizures, it was after our cat died. So we'd gone deep into grief because Kono was our everything. He taught us unconditional love, and he died just before he was 2. And it triggered a whole pile of grief from our mum and everything. And we were camped in the woods at the time. We'd just camped the night before because he'd gone missing, and we were waiting for him. And then he was found, and we went into a deep state of grief, and we didn't leave the woods. We were there for 2 weeks, couldn't do anything. And it needed to happen. It needed to happen. We needed to be woken up to feeling, even if that initially went into this numb state of grief. So, oh God, why it's really going all over the place. So it's the internal reality and the external reality. That's it. So back then we started experiencing our nervous system inside, and it was agony. No matter how slow we got our breath, if our breath slower, it was better. But if the energy was really chaotic, it was agony. And we described what's going on in our body to our friend who was a chiropractor and understood the nervous system, understood the anatomy of the body. She would validate what we were saying, yeah, the nerves are made up of sheaths, and inside the nerves and inside the sheath you have these hairs. Because I was saying, like, it's like the difference of getting a knife and slashing someone with a knife, or having to run through brambles. The energy and the breath, and that's what was going on inside of us, where our protruding discs in our backwards and all our, like, injuries and stuff going on inside. And so we were experiencing these circular motions and everything. And she showed us Pinterest, and that's the first time we came across Pinterest. And we didn't really have the words. There's so much going on. We didn't have the words. We couldn't describe it. But when we saw these pictures on Pinterest, it's all about your air pattern currents, when you get the galaxies and that swirling spiral movement. That is what was going on inside us. That's what we feel, because we the energetic body, the physical body. So that was our first. We printed a whole blog. We call it. It's on our Pinterest page on I think Pinto_SE. I think it's called Bioorganic Spiritual Energy or something. And that's what prints all these things. It also has your connective tissue and your fascia, so it's got a lot of them together. And that's where we first started having a format, a modality to. This is what we're supposed. We didn't have the words, we didn't have anything else, but suddenly we had these pictures, and then more happened, and then the seizures happened, and everything got really fragmented and separated and dissociated and chaotic. So we experience our external reality through our senses, through our external body. Our external body are superficial muscles. You then get your deep tissue muscles, and you've got a layer of muscles that connect your deep tissue and your superficial. So that's then your internal body and your external body on the surface, because your real internal body and your real internal reality are your organs. And we've realised that our organs didn't grow up properly because of the traumas when we were a child, and that's what we're doing now. So when we say we're growing up generational consciousness, we are growing our organs to their optimum state of resonance. But it's not something that just happens simple. It's like breath work, it's movement. It's also when it's been a whole year of years, but only since the psych ward, last 5.5 years, understanding that we've got the DID, we've got the autism, we've got the EDS and the fibromyalgia and the POTS. We didn't have any of the only label we had was the rare dyslexia, the processing language disorder, which we got when we were 19. So suddenly we had our independence taken away from us. We had all these labels put onto us, and it was all too much for our conscious mental mind to handle. We started getting triggered by people, situations were happening where we were being more authentic to us, but people couldn't handle it. We were rejected and abandoned. So that was our abandonment issues. So more re-traumatized over and over, which would get us younger and younger. But our coping mechanism over our whole life is we go into a state of paralysis, and we're in this pretend state. All the alternate personalities, we've done amazing things our whole life, but they've been there our whole life, just suddenly come into the awareness. And so we didn't know ourselves. The younger ones were out, we weren't able to communicate to people. And so all this stuff happened, needed to happen, because we needed to be out of life. At the end of the day, we're realizing, because we're complex and we've got a lot of us to navigate, we've got a lot of different energy states to navigate, and we can do that around other people when we've been programmed and brought up to be people, and that, we won't be happy unless they're happy, which isn't a lie. That's, it's distortions from childhood and stuff. So yeah, we've just been in our own company. We've had our cat Zendaya to mirror our energy and teach us. We've had the external environment and just witnessed lots, and really understanding that internal reality, and starting to align, broken from the outside in, healing, aligning the inside to then heal from the inside out to align the outside. And this is the next stage of that healing journey. So because this faster state energy that kind of took over, and we've been grounding it down with chop wood, carry water, or cook, clean, wash, guard, because some of these use up at least 4 times energy to an average person. For us, we'd say 8 times, because we just were giving and giving to other people. We're not to ourselves, and we weren't living. We were kind of doing the best to live a healthy lifestyle, but we had no self-belief, we had no self-love, we had no self-trust. Just like a baby will die, doesn't have contact or love, that same thing can happen as an adult. As well, autonomic nervous system was dying over and over. It's amazing to die, but one of us programmed ourselves not to have enough experiences, so we kept getting jolted back into the body, which wasn't so amazing. But again, all of this has brought us to these moments, to be creating this course and for ourselves, and to then shine that out there and learn how to express ourselves, learn how to share our rare and unique ways. So after we've had those energies come down and we've been grinding it down, there's a thing like, if you sit there and you breathe, you can breathe up. Your secondary respiratory muscles are your shoulders lift, your chest expand upwards and outwards. Now, here, when one does breathe in, is to kind of keep this area down. Because all this area is out, and there can be some quite jarring emotions like that. Sorry guys, we're doing our best. We don't have too much longer. I think we're doing really well. I'm so proud of us all. You don't mind? Oh, no. Yes, I'm embarrassed, but there we go. It's all good. Practice makes perfect, and experience and familiarity and all that. So the next thing is that we need to start getting that internal lift. So when one does lift, breathe in, they breathe in, they breathe out. And the idea is, when one breathes out, is to keep the internal lift, but feel the outer body relaxing down. So that's that porous flow, like that. Got lift, but we haven't. We're dense, we're compressed. We used to be 5'10". And if you speak to some of us, they believe we're going to be really windy. We're just going to close off. Skylight's not open. Skylight blow up. Tonight, the wind really gets you back up, doesn't it? It gets our back up. like thought living in a caravan and a van was bad enough in the wind. It's like we're in a house now. It is a wooden bungalow, so we can be in touch with the elements, because otherwise we get really depressed. But it feels like the whole house is going to like blow bits code off left, right, and centre. It's not, but we're just in the bathroom there, and it's like, what's that noise? And it's like all air coming up through the plug hole in the bath. Okay, so where were we? So the internal lift in the body. So like if you're laying down on the floor in yoga, this would be called Shavasana, which is corpse pose. And the more we breathe in and naturally feel the breath lengthen and deepen, and feel that retention, the pause between the inhalation and the exhalation, and the exhalation and the inhalation, the more one relaxes and the more the body kind of melts, and the external body kind of melts and relaxes and sinks into the ground. And for us, again, we couldn't really relax, because if we relax, we don't have the ligaments to support the joints, and then you relax into your hypermobility, and then you cause yourself pain and damage, or dislocate or sublocate something, or have a muscle strain. So we've got really good understanding of the body to navigate and overcome that. So the idea is that came to us the other day to do this live, to create this course so that we can then come back onto it again. It gives us practice to gain confidence for the next course. And all of this is then practice for us to start creating our own mastermind course, which are all ways for us to start earning some passive income and some income to get ourselves off disability benefits. Yeah, we're almost going to be done now. So the idea is that we keep the feet. Oh yeah, the top part, the exciting bit that we say. So we just learned the other day. So we do astrology, but we do it in our own unique, twisted way as well, fun twisted way. But so Pisces is the feet. It rules the feet. Pisces is ruled. Traditional ruler is Jupiter, which is all about expansion. The modern ruler is Neptune, and we've got that big Jupiter-Neptune conjunction happening as well, which starts at the start of March, 3rd and 4th of March. So the astrological energies for this period of time are immense. Some of the artists have been collecting different moon waters as well. So like we're drinking our moon water now, we have it in our Kilner jar, because we believe that water is the highest form of intelligence, and we shungite purify our water. And water is more conductive for the energy as well. Water is more conductive than the medium of air or earth for energy. So the purer the water and the channels, the easier the energy, and the more that we can pressure hose and pressure clean all the congestion in the channels of the body. Because poor posture, constipated channels, blocked channels is what not utilizing all of our lungs. We used to smoke a lot of weed to manage the pain. And now I understand also to suppress the younger alternate personalities. Because when we used to stop smoking it to prove that we weren't addicted to it, although we don't believe in addiction, we just believe in a lack of connection. People would ask us what we were on, and it's like, it's what we're not on. So we used to do that to keep ourselves at other people's level, so other people could handle us, and for the pain. And yeah, it's what helped us be able to function in society. But we've navigated away from all of that now. We're starting to use all of the three. We always want to say the 3 quadrants, but I know it's not 3 quadrants, because a quadrant's 4, but that's always what comes out, of the lungs. Because once we do that, again, we get the posture and we get the whole breathing thing going on, which is, we're having a lot of voice shifting and a lot of energy shifting going on up here. Last week when we were doing the live, it was agony all up here. So it's really, we're at the start of this exponential curve of this shifting that's going on in alignment with the astrological energetics. So we thought, okay, we need to start moving the energy up the body. We need to start getting that internal lift, but we don't want to go, woo-hoo, we don't want to go off with the fairies again. We don't want to kind of lose it again, even though we weren't really losing it before. There's still that fear because of all the external belief systems and projections and assumptions and judgments that we've kind of taken on, and we're learning to clear away. But we want to make sure we're grounded. So it's like, yeah, Pisces sun on the feet, Pisces is also our mind. So the Mercury is expression, it's communication, whether it's body language communication, heart communication, singing communication, art, writing, poetry, speaking. It's expression, it's communication. But it's also perceived as Mercury is the mind. And if we really get into it like we're going to before, Mercury's the mind is like you've got a mind, every bacteria and every cell got a mind. So we're just lots of minds making up the one. So it's not one self, it's lots of us. That's why you've got to make all your bacteria happy. Yeah, thank you, my lovelies. That's absolutely right. Focus again, please. So Mercury is the mind, mutable mind, Pisces mind. But we've just started looking into our Vedic astrology chart over the Western, so the Vedic sidereal chart over the tropical Western, there's another word for it, isn't it, as well? And in that, so normally, actually, the sun, whatever sun sign you are in the Western astrology, normally you're one previous in the Vedic, but we're not. We're still in an Aquarius sun in Vedic and Western. One's just Pisces cusp and the other one's Capricorn cusp. Our moon changes though, because we're an Aquarius moon in the Western astrology. So internal air elemental emotions, erratic. No, not at all. And the sun, the external. But to suddenly then our moon goes to Capricorn, and a Capricorn, it's grounded, it's earthly. So to have our emotions grounded makes sense. So we're navigating to the Vedic one to change the makeup in our body. We're not going to get into that whole belief systems around that either. But the great thing is, what does it? Our mind goes from a Pisces mind. Does it go to an Aquarius mind? Venus to Pisces. I think our mind must go from Pisces mind to Aquarius, from the Western to the Vedic, but it's the heart. We've got a Venus, Aries, Venus is the heart, and we've got an Aries Venus, but in Vedic astrology, it's Pisces. So all of a sudden there's this bridge between our mind and our heart, or our head and our heart, which for us, yes, because we've never been able to connect our head to our heart, although we're starting to on many abstract and but so there's this connection. Pisces is our bridge, it's our connection between our head, between our heart, and it's the ruler of the feet, so it can keep us grounded throughout all of this. So in keeping us grounded on the masculine, external, active doing energies of the outside of the feet, as the Grandma Moon shifts through each astrological sign, we're going to go through Scorpio first, the pelvis, the groin, the reproductive organs, the genital areas. Then it will be Sagittarius. Sagittarius is ruler of the thighs and the hips. Then it will be Capricorn. Capricorn is ruler of the skin, bones, and knees. Now, the information we get this from is this book. We are actually going to go on to AstroSeek and print off what it says on there, because they have a little bit more detail in it, and we really like that. And what we will do when we do that as well is we'll provide links in the description. But as I said, we need to get into this flow state. It always confuses us when we go, as I said, we need to get into this flow state. It still gets me. It's all like complicated stuff. So that we could then take notes and start putting some of this stuff down, so that we can leave links for you to show what this stuff is. So Sagittarius is your thighs and your hips. Capricorn is your bits, scones, bones, skin, knees. Aquarius is your calves and ankles. Pisces is your feet. So for instance, when it's the Pisces sun and Pisces moon, we're going to be working on the feet energetics, the external feet and the internal feet, whereas the rest of the time it's going to be the external feet and the internal of whatever it is that we're going through now. Pisces, Aries is the head and the face. Taurus is the throat and the voice. Gemini is your hands, your arms, your shoulders, your nervous system and your lungs. We've also got loads of tuning forks. So we've got tuning forks for your kidneys, we've got tuning forks for your lungs. So we're going to bring in tuning forks to actually Because when when there's an optimum resonant frequency of something, it always wants to be brought back into that frequency. So if you've got the optimum resonant frequency with the tuning fork, you can sound that and bring the organ or bring the skin back into its optimum resonant frequency. They're amazing. We've got the Fibonacci set, the solfeggio, the planets, all the human organs. We don't have the chakras, we gave that one back, and we've got some other ones as well. But we do want to treat, when we do save up some money or get some extra money, it's all going on the garden at the moment, we want to get the 9 chakra set, where it's got the soul star and the soul star and the earth star. So yeah, that's a bit of information there we forgot. I'm glad that came in. Aries, Taurus, Gemini. Cancer rules the stomach, the breasts and the chest area, stomach being the organ, not the stomach area. Well, that's what we're guessing it is, because then you've got Leo, which is the heart and the upper back. Then you have Cancer, Leo, Virgo, which is your intestines and your abdomen, and your abdomen is like the stomach area. Then you've got Libra, which is your buttocks, your lower back and your kidneys. And then you're back to Scorpio. And so we've got it all written out. So there has been a bit of planning. We've got it all kind of written out in the calendar in blue. And each time, so for instance, on the 22nd, when we start on Tuesday, oh no, that's just everything that we've said. We're getting the degrees mixed up. So yeah, that's what we've said. And then we'll finish it off at the end of March. So I'm pretty sure it'll be Aries. So it actually goes into an Aries sun. So we'll be crossing over from a Pisces sun with the feet to then going into the Aries sun, which is the head and the face. So then there's a connection between your feet, your lower body realms and the upper body realms, and bringing it all together. Yeah, so I think that's kind of what we've talked about. I think we've covered the sound and some other things. I don't know why this book shows you one of the books. Sorry again for the rattling. I don't know. We got this book out, Feng Shui Room by Room. I have no idea whichever one of us got that out. I don't know how that's relating into the feet. I know that a lot of us will learn what happens in our immediate environment has a mirror image to our internal environment. So if you find yourself maybe really wanting to detangle necklaces, in the process of detangling that necklace, there's a mirror image pattern of that going inside of you detangling the energetics. So these energetic threads, you've got thicker threads and thinner threads. We see the thinner ones to go through the nostrils and the external body, but then the thinner threads also take breath up into the brain and down, whereas the thicker threads, and these are energetic, they're unseen. So we try to describe this to our brother when we used to see him, and we'd wrap loads of wool around him. But there's that picture where you get people where they've got a stitched up mouth. So at one point we couldn't even use our mouth, and it's like this. It was like it was all stitched up, and yeah, it was just so confused and all over the place. So I can imagine it's something to do with that, because I know it's very important to us what we're doing in our external environment and what's going on in our external environment to what's going on internally. Yeah. So, but I'm not quite sure. We've got the Reflexology Healing Bible. So it gives you kind of different pressure points, what part of the body, like for instance, how your it's not good doing it on the hand, but your hand, you've got it's reflexology is on your feet, it's on your hands, and it's on your head. So your whole body and your organs is mirrored and reflected in your head, your spine. I can actually show you on here, it'd be easier for you to see. Not that one, it's that one, isn't it? So if you look, so all of this has kind of come out over the time throughout our videos, but it's not in an organized way. So here's the spine. So if you see your baby finger, that's the bottom of your spine where it is in red, but it's also your coccyx. but it's the wrist area of your baby side of your baby finger, but it's also on your heel. And if you go down the inside of your archway, that is going up your spine, up to your neck. And so there you can see on your thumb is your upper neck, and on your big toe. So you've also got all the different organs and patterns on the feet and the hands to show you where all those reflux points are. So if you've got a headache, you can do something with your hands, and you can do something with your feet that will, it's not acupressure points because you've got your acupressure points as well, but it will relieve tension in those meridians and that's how it's all connected. So yeah, it's kind of all then connected into your chakras and down your spine as well. There's bits of information on there. The fun bit would be let's read our feet. So even down to what colour nail varnish you wear, if you're wearing different colour nail varnishes on each foot, if your toes are separated, if your toe next to your big toe is longer than your big toe, if you've got slightly hammered toes, if you've got a really small baby toe, it all means stuff. So we'll be learning about ourselves through our feet, along with doing the energetics in the body. So this is the holistic and complementary therapy guide that we did at college when we did it, which was aromatherapy, reflexology. So there'll be bits of information in there that we might extract. So we're just showing you the tools and the books that we'll be using. You've got your colouring in workbooks. We might be able to get some stuff from there if anyone likes colouring in. We've got a scanner, so we can always scan it into the computer, because when we are learning stuff, just like what we were saying earlier about drawing the sacred geometry, so especially in this day and age where everything's done with technology or typing it into technology or using our phone, using our senses, using colour, drawing, writing, they're all different ways of tapping into our subconscious, tapping into our superconscious, but they're all different ways to actually absorb this knowledge into the body so that we embody it, and it becomes, rather than regurgitation and just trying to remember something but we don't have any physical experience or attachment to it, it makes it a lot harder in our experience. We have this amazing book that takes you through all the different China, India, all your different kind of energetic systems, the chakras, energy meridians, acupuncture, reflexology, intentional healing, Ayurveda, shiatsu, distance and hands-on healing, energy fields, sacred geometry, colour and sound healing, magnetism, and more. So that's a fantastic book. And to go with that one, is you've got like a colouring in workbook that can take you through doing the body parts as well. So there'll probably be some feet stuff into that, and we can scan them again as well and put them as PDFs or something where you can print them off and colour them in. Because we were very much a visual learner, you see. So, I mean, we've also got things like this for all your trigger points, so that you know where your trigger points are on laminated sheets. We do a lot, we've got in our yoga therapy room, we have a lot of posters and we've got our skeletons. So one of the ways a few of us learn is, just like I said about witnessing people's body parts, is by just visual, doing our meditation, doing our breath work and our sounding and just staring at these charts. I mean, the meridian poster they bought in German. I was like, why have we got it in German? And it's like, oh, we messed up there again on the shopping. And then it's like, no, we didn't. The subconscious knows best. Just like listening to music that doesn't have words, if it's got words in, to have words in a language you don't know. Because if we have words in, it's always triggering the conscious mind. And the idea is to calm the conscious mind and to bring ourselves into the body and the heart. So you've got your trigger points, but you've also got your acupressure points, which would be similar to your acupuncture points if you're doing, I think it's called acupuncture. We then have all your different lymphatic system, the senses, so all these different laminated things, digestive system. So as we're kind of going through the body parts in the body, these can come up as a visual aid, because rather than just talking about it with words, the more that one can bring in a visual to go with the words, the more that one can bring in the senses. So if I was to, you know, bring in the smell, bring in the so doing aromatherapy, bring in visuals, the more that we can kind of connect with the senses and connect the dots in the body, connect the nodes in the body. There's more nodes and neural pathways in the heart than there are the brain, apparently. And then this is coursework that we did when we were at college. Tito Pomo and I know Tito. Yeah, it was a bit stressful for us. We're kind of a bit last minute because that's the way we used to function. And but it turned out we were the only one that it was the best in the class, and we're the only one that didn't get it given back. They didn't want us to drop out, but we had to drop out because our physical health didn't allow us to go in anymore. But we've got in here a whole section on, we've got like yoga, shiatsu, but we've got a whole section on reflexology. So we might end up reading a bit of that we've written. I don't know. As I said, it's going to be intuitive, in the flow. It's, 1 hour, 50 minutes. We haven't done too long. We're going to be closing up soon, but we would like to keep it. I know for the other course, we've got it for 66 minutes, because 66 is the number of healing, and we're in the healing lounge of 66 because we live at number 66. And when you use 6 is the center of the Tesla code, there's 3, the 6, the 9, and 2 of them equals 12, which is the complex masculine stability, which is what we live in today's society, the baker's dozen, 12 months in a year, rather than going by the 13 moon cycles of the year. And when you add that together, it equals 3. And 3 is the starting point on the Tesla code, and it's a hugely important number. It's the number of creativity. It's creative expansion or expanded creativity. But it's the number of understanding not having much, understanding not having much money, understanding how contentment and satisfaction and happiness comes from within, no matter whether we've got money or not, and to be able to embrace that, so that then when we do have money, it doesn't matter if we've got the money, or it doesn't matter if we've not got the money, but it's not the money that makes us happy. There's more to it, and there's a whole thing more about that. So yeah, we've got to go let our beautiful Zendaya in. He's scratching at the window. And then we're going to close off with a moon magic card. Oh, hey, darling. Hello. Hi. Did you have fun out there? Hey. Did you get blown about by the wind? We're almost done, okay? Okay, so I don't know, we've got a couple of watches now. We've had one all the way through. Hi, by the way, sorry to be rude. We had to kind of keep the flow, or we'd have got a bit lost. Oh, we'd have got more lost than what we would have. So I hope we've kind of covered enough stuff of the introduction there. Yeah, as I said, we'll kind of go through it. We'll edit this out to make it less blurb and just the essentials. And just see what flows at the end of the day. It's what we need to do for ourselves, as I said, for the healing journey on so many different levels, healing of the body, connecting us together, growing more, and just experience and practice in this, because this is how we grow and this is how we evolve. And we're, hello, come up here. And we're super proud and super impressed at the fact that we've got doing the time codes and doing thumbnails on our poetry videos now as well. So yeah, but trying not to overload, but still trying to bring in new things and juggle it all. So I've had a few jumpers there. We've got one down here and we got one down here. So this was the first one. I do love the pictures on these. Finger pointing to the moon. and that is the waxing gibbous. So your waxing's when the moon's getting bigger, and your waning's when the moon's getting smaller. It's getting bigger from the new going up to the full. I assess matters carefully and discern wisely. So yes, please. I know I could do a bit of that. We could all do a bit of that. Is that back to front or the right way round? And then the next one is beautiful desert. Not sure if it's sunset or sunrise. We've always wondered how if one wants to look at a photo, how can they decipher between it being a sunset or a sunrise? And that's moon god Bayami, or BaIame. My words and actions are of beauty, compassion, and love. So that's beautiful, that one. And that's what we do the best for it to come out. And we always dance within a spectrum of energies. So the conscious, the top of the mind, aware of the pack spectrum of energies that we're dancing in, is the waning gibbous one. So was that the waxing gibbous one? So yeah, we've got the waning and the waxing. I am curious about my true nature. I seek to understand myself. Well, that's very fitting for us. We do that indeed. And I'm going to read the next one because we've just shown you a whole pile of books, and the one underneath is a book. I gather more wisdom each day, waning gibbous 6. And then the bottom, energetic bubbles. She almost looks a bit alien-like. Moon goddess. So we've got the moon god and the moon goddess. Hecate, Hekate. I know my shadow side and I work to willingly transform aspects of it. But all of those are very resonant with us. So I don't know if they're resonant with you. Would love to hear. And because we did 2 at the top and we were dancing on the 2 frequency, we're just going to do the second one on the bottom. Oopsie daisy, you can't see it. There we go. The moon with the light. I enjoy the serendipity of life. The unexpected can be wonderful. A blue moon. So yeah, wonderful little energies there to work with. Not too long. We got it. We did it. It's Jupiter time. It's just turned Jupiter time. Welcoming the Jupiter energies of expansion and luck and fortune. The 9th house, higher learning and awareness and understanding of self. And yes, it's going to be, not sure on the times, it might be a bit spontaneous, but the day, we can tell you the day. I'm pretty sure it's going to be the 22nd, because that's a hugely important day with the numbers, isn't it? 22 to 2022. So it goes 222, 222, 66 again. And we're 66 minutes long, and then 66 is lounge. So yeah, this is also the astrological energies, the numbers, everything just lined up. So it's not always going to be on the same day because it travels. So for instance, it'll be Tuesday the 22nd, probably Thursday the 24th, Saturday the 26th, Monday the 28th, Wednesday the 2nd, Saturday the 5th, Sunday the 6th, Wednesday the 9th, Saturday the 12th, Sunday the 13th. So yeah, it's not always during the week. It's where as the moon transits into the sign, and then what have you. And it will be, pretty sure we've got the last one on the 31st of March. So it'll be just over a month of doing this and doing the energies through the body. Because the best teacher is the student. So if we can teach ourselves in a format like this, and if anyone else wants to join along, then we'll become a better teacher and we'll become a better student, and our body will connect and become healthier and stronger and balanced and flexible. And if we're strong, flexible and balanced in body, so will we be in mind. So really look forward to getting a good mic and getting to be able to understand filming and cameras better. Although we did a bit of music a few years ago, improvising, playing the flute just randomly. Come on, that tickles. And yeah, we've just put that onto our videos, and it's amazing because the more aligned we become inside, the more everything syncs up and becomes aligned outside of us. And the music it's just one snippet, and it was us talking at the end. But then when you take the talking off the end and line them up with each other, but slightly overlap them, because the end is the start and the start is the end, and it all just fits perfectly. And it's some music that's created 3 years ago, and it feels like everything that we're going through, have been through, are going through, and are going to go through in like 10 years time or something. All of it's going to kind of, because it's all a bit chaotic at the moment. We've got this going on and we've got that going. It's just like, but it feels like in 10 years it's all just going to come together and going to make such sense. And it's opening Pandora's box and treasure chest, and we don't really have any idea kind of what's going on. It just is unfolding as it's going on. But yeah, our younger ones are looking forward to learning music more. There's going to be all kinds of 108-day challenges. We've got to finish off some books actually from last year, which we're going to get onto as well. So yeah, I think the courses are going to be on this one. I think we're going to start with Education of Little Tree, but we've got to start listening to what we've done of it so far, and then we'll finish off those books. So we're tying up loads of loose ends of things that we've started as well. So yes, the future's looking bright and hopeful, and we look forward to seeing you on our energetic train if you so wish to join in the Shinto yoga experience, Shintosai, with Shinto self-empowerment. I'm Zanoni Snowflake. Namaste. Got the rain coming outside now. We did it! Yes, we did. Calm down, guys. Thank you. Bye.